This week, we'll be moving forward in time to look at the most current literary movement that we'll be covering, postmodernism. The period after modernism was reacting not just to cultural and political changes, but particularly critiquing the modernists, which is why we refer to that period, and some argue the period we're still in, as postmodernism. The French theorist Jean-François Lyotard succinctly defined postmodernism as incredulity towards meta-narratives. That is, a skepticism towards the grand narratives that we use to explain the world around us, like good versus evil. Literary postmodernism reacted against the erasure of the past that the modernists argued for by intentionally referencing older stories and texts. They rejected the demand to elevate art by intentionally blurring the lines between high and low art. They played with the form of narration by using inconsistent tone, point of view, and chronology, and by having apparently random disruptions in the texts. These works tend to be very aware of the fact that they are texts, even referencing it to their readers. If you've ever heard of something described as meta, that's what they mean. A great example of this from pop culture is the 90s teen slasher Scream. This film, which constantly references the previous slasher films that established the genre, is perhaps best known for the rules that one character lays out. These rules tell the viewer, with a nudge and a wink, that the movie knows what it is and how it works, and the audience gets to be in on the joke rather than being kept at arm's length. This knowingness and the way that texts acknowledge their place in the literary canon is a key feature of postmodernism. Even though the writers most often associated with postmodernism may deal with serious themes, their work is often absurd, playful, or even has comic aspects, and sometimes makes special use of parody and pastiche and of references to other texts and artifacts. The first of our postmodern writers, Flannery O'Connor, was born in Savannah, Georgia in 1925. O'Connor is considered one of the greatest short story writers of the 20th century. She faced some hardships growing up, losing her father as a teenager, but persisted in her studies. She eventually earned a master's degree and then began publishing short fiction. Her work was informed by her experiences growing up as a Catholic in the South, and religion was to become a recurring theme in her work. This can be seen in her story for this week, A Good Man is Hard to Find. O'Connor's stories tend to be darkly comic, embracing both the postmodern tendency to question the grand narratives of good and bad, right and wrong, that both society and religion teach. Toni Cade Bambara and Toni Morrison, who are African-American authors and activists, highlight another aspect of postmodernism, the broadening of the literary canon. You can find a brief biography of Toni Morrison, author of Resediceth, on your weekly videos page. As with the modernist, war was a major catalyst for the postmodern writers and artists to seek change. While World War I was a time of hardship and toil for the American people, it was also a renewal of patriotism and unity as the country banded together against a common enemy. The U.S. emerged from a war as one of the wealthiest and most powerful nations in the world. The economy expanded as new industrial markets opened up, and the workforce changed so the GI Bill made higher education available to a wider range of people, and African Americans continued to become more integrated into the economy as fewer white workers were available. The 1950s are broadly known as a time of conformity and commercialism, as capitalism was pitted against communism, both internationally in the Cold War and at home. However, tension was clear below the surface as zealous anti-communist movements such as Joseph McCarthy's Blacklist campaign sought to force uniformity, and the beginnings of the civil rights movement, with Brown versus Board of Education and the Montgomery bus boycott, began to rise in resistance. Women, too, found themselves in uncertain territory. Having risen to action during World War II and taken a new, fuller role in society and the economy, the 1950s found them displaced as soldiers returned to their pre-war roles. As the civil rights movement grew into the 1960s and 70s, the face of literature and the study of literature changed as more and varied voices were heard. With it, the literary canon, that collection of works commonly studied in schools and university, also underwent a change. Increasingly, there was a call for minorities to be represented. African Americans, Native Americans, Asian Americans, Latinx people, and women began to be recognized as important and influential writers who were helping to shape the literature of a new America. As you read this week, think about what narratives these stories are addressing or challenging. What are these new voices in the literary canon saying about the world in which they live? As always, you have your weekly discussion board post and journal entry to complete. Don't forget, too, that you have your first writing project. Next week, we'll be moving on to poetry. Let me know if you have any questions, and happy reading.